Right. Okay, we are live on the 4 o'clock panel with the good day. So this is the panel about building thriving urban communities, and I will let you gentlemen introduce yourselves and go backstage. Have a wonderful session, and I will see you towards the end.
Thanks. So I really hope everybody can hear me. It's a really exciting day to use this virtual platform for talking about communities. I think that the panel we have assembled here is a world-class panel about communities, and I'm hopeful that all of you will enjoy. A couple of house cleaning agenda items. If you do have questions for us, please write them in the chat. We will definitely take a look and try and leave some time for answering questions. And at the end, we might even open the mic, and some lucky individuals will be able to talk to us about communities. So my name is Jason Wolf, and I'm going to lead this panel along with the 4 gentlemen that you will see. Each one will present themselves after a few words of opening remarks by myself, and we will get to know who else is on this panel. So first of all, thriving communities, thriving urban communities. What are you going to learn from this session? We're going to focus on what it takes to build a successful urban community. And the reason it's urban community is because it's both physical and online. We can't separate these two things anymore. And what we're going to be talking about are members, engagement, and everything around it, community that spans the real world and the online world. People that are interested in miniature dogs. We're talking about physical communities that leverage
I think Jason just lost his connection. Let's wait 1 minute and let it.
So we seem to have lost Jason.
Can you see me now?
Jason, there you are. I think you come back.
I think you're back.
Yes, we can hear you. And just turn your camera
I think I'm back in another room. Let's move the speaker next to Adi now. So as I was saying, just communities are not something new. They've been around for, the dawn of humanity. And it helped us organize and conquer this planet and do everything. In the last probably 25, 30 years, we've looked at community now through the lens of the internet, and it allowed us to do a lot more and expand the concept of community from physical, local communities, which is what it was since prehistory, to these communities that live online. And I think what is important and what we're talking about in this panel and these esteemed panelists, we're talking about the physical communities in real world type situations and how we leverage online tools to make those interactions and those types of communities strong. So that's what I wanted to start with. And no better time than to introduce the team and ask each one of the team members to present themselves, as well as tell us, a little story about how community helped you in your personal history of life, how it helped you solve a big problem. And I think that will give us both who you are, what you do, as well as a little bit of an example of why you are so excited about communities. And maybe we'll start with Matan Saad. Matan?
Yes. Can you hear me? Okay. I hope so. If not, so tell me. So hello, everybody. My name is Matan Saad from Beersheva. I will shortly introduce myself, and I will talk a bit about my connection into community world. So I live in Beersheva in the last 10 years already. And at some point, I understood it happened next to the graduation of the MA, that all my friends are going to go to Tel Aviv unless we will create a community, unless we will develop something that will make us to choose to live in Beersheva. Because as I guess most of you know, like in Ben Gurion University, you have a very, very rich social life, and thereafter you just left behind somehow in many ways. And we understood that we all have this perspective that we are the only person who choose to stay in Beersheva if we will do that, and all the rest are leaving. And when I was talking to friends, more and more people told me that they're staying, but they have this conception in their mind that they're the only one who stays. So we wanted to create a community for two main things. The first thing is a perceptional thing, to understand better that we're not alone in this situation and we choose to stay together. The second thing is for creating the young scene we want to have, not only as a students, but the day after also. So we established the web, Hareshet, Beersheva, which has a few hundreds of members now. I will talk about this more, but this is like my connection. I didn't come from the community world. I just figured out that this is the best way to achieve the goals I had in the moment of the graduation, and I will expand more.
Thanks, Matan. That was a great example of how community helps all kinds of different things. Great. Moshiko, why don't we go?
Hi, everyone. My name is Moshiko Balas. I am the Community Center Director in Bavli community in Tel Aviv. I did several gap years of shlichut, of being kind of ambassador abroad, and this is where I find out the strength of the community, when the story of the Jewish community abroad is actually changed, because when the Jewish people here in Israel are the major population, when I did the shlichut, I find out that again the Jewish people are like a small community, and I saw the strength of communities. When I came back to Israel, I decided to be a community center director here in Tel Aviv, and to bring some of these things that I learned during this year abroad. And I think it's really interesting for me that how can you create good in a community? How can you expand? It's like a kind of an octopus. So this is my connection. We creating here community every day, and we expand our communities here from one big community to smaller communities. And I think it's fascinating to see how communities can be online and also can be offline. Thank you.
Thank you, Moshiko. And not last, but still before last, Zvi.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Yeah. So I work in Ganei Tikva Municipality. I'm the manager of the youth and the adult youth in Ganei Tikva for the last 4 years. I can say that from a very young age, I was working in volunteer in a youth movement. I was doing national service in Sde Boker. I was a field school. And I even was in Beersheva, and then on that time there was not a community, just was everybody going to the pool, and this was the community, and I'm very happy to hear Matan that it's getting better than that. And I did shlichut too. I was a shaliach for the Jewish agency in Belgium for 2 years. So it was kind of exactly like Moshiko said before, it was kind of experience to see it from outside and inside how communities works, how a Jewish community works, how Israeli as a community inside a different country works. And since then, I came back. I work in the municipality of Herzliya, and I can say that in the last 10 years, I work in the communities. And it's can say that it's a process and learning that you're doing every time, every day it's different, and it's always changing. It's very interesting for me, especially now with all the Corona time. Everything is changing and bring us to think better and how we can get better and understand that community is not one group, but a lot of small communities, and to know how to combine, how to organize that can all work together.
Thanks, V. And then, last but not least, Adi.
Hi, everyone. Do you hear me? So my name is Adi Perry. I'm actually my background. I'm a CPA and a lawyer, and a co-founder and COO of Coing. In the last 5 years, I founded 2 different ventures, which I think both created the seeds for Coing. And what attracted me to deal with community, I think it's related to my past. I was growing up in a small village in the south of Israel. It's a place where everybody knows and supports each other. And when I moved to the city for the first time as a student, I was shocked by the dissonance between the number of people surrounded me and the lack of connection between them. And you know, fast forward 5 years, I got married, started to have kids, and moved to a smaller town, which with only couple of hundreds families, just to find out that the sense of belonging, there is no sense of belonging there too. And it bothered me, and I decided to learn how to mitigate this gap. In the beginning, I started to explore different kind of communities, and after a year of research, it was clear to me that the challenge is much broader, and it includes almost all residents living in the urban area. So it's something that I would like to try to solve, and that's what took me to the world of urban communities.
Great. Thanks, Adi. Thanks, Matan, everybody. So I, as you were speaking, I was kind of thinking about you guys. You're all kind of community leaders. And I'll ask a controversial question. Are the best communities, do we need to have a leader that has the vision of what a community is, sets it up, manages it, everything? Or is it something that's artificial? It has to come bottom up. What's your opinions about, and you know, raise your hand if you've got something first to say, and I'll just direct who speaks first. But of course, an open question, because it was just interesting to me that we've got community managers here that have a lot of experience in building those communities. What's your sense about the relationship between the community leadership or management and the actual people?
Well, I can say that, as I said before, that, you know, something that's changing during the time. But, you know, when you're thinking about it, if you go to this subject in the beginning, you think that it's like someone in the top and he just give orders, and like in the military, or like a permits. But then you understand that during the time it's becoming more professional, and you understand more the ground and the people. You understand that community is not like top to down or down to top. It's everything in the same time, and it's not just from the bottom or from the top. It's need to be even in levels. Like I can think about like an apartment, like a building that you have many floors, and you need not just to know to work from top to bottom. You need that every level of the house not work by himself, but was with communication with other floors in the building. Otherwise, it cannot work. This is very important when you're doing a community.
I love that metaphor. So the cross links at every single floor of the building has to know each other. That's great. Anybody else on that idea of top down, bottom up?
Yeah, I think it changes a lot during the life of the community. At the beginning, many times the leader would be more in the center because he and his close friends are more the one who's doing the actions. It has to be more like a platform. It's not that they decide by themselves. It's more like they ask the people because they want things to happen. And during the time, I think the wisdom of community is to release more and more out to the community, otherwise it wouldn't be sustained. If you want it to be sustainable, it has to be supported and fueled by the people and not the leaders. But at the beginning, if we want to be honest, the leaders are more in the center, and with the time, it's getting more and more to the background.
So I'll follow up just on that one because it's intriguing to me. Because, sorry, go ahead, Moshiko, and then I'll go back to Matan.
I think that in the community, there is, as I said in the beginning, in the community there is also small communities, and I think the place of the leader is changing from every project and then every community or smaller community. It's there is the vision of the big community, where we want to go, what we want to create, but then according to this, there is also small communities, and then you can choose to be a follower and support and give the tools to the community to build up. And sometimes when there is a challenge, especially now during COVID-19, that there is a challenge and we need somehow to collaborate. And sometimes you will be the leader and it's go top to the bottom, but you should have a strong structure that you build along the way, that when you come to this point, when there is things happens, you should actually take act. So I think it's all the time it's moving. Sometimes you're part of something bigger and you're just supporting and hugging and giving the tools. And sometimes you're actually taking the community step by step. And I think it's also impact the place you choose. It's how the community will act in the further steps along the way of the community.
I love that, and I can tell the audience that Moshiko is from Bavli, a neighborhood in Tel Aviv, and when I heard the story about how the community, with what you did, reacted to COVID-19 and allowed seniors to get food, to get social interaction, at least from far, with the volunteers, and how you matched volunteers to the seniors, that to me was a brilliant, like you say, a small group of a community. But that's part of the DNA of what a good community is, to be able to respond to a crisis like that. That was beautiful. And I just want to go back a second to Matan. You spoke about the time that the leadership role changes over time. I think that's very insightful to think about. It sounds to me a little bit about people talk about a movement. To create a movement, you start with a little spark and something happens, but then it grows. That was just an intriguing part.
Yeah, for sure. I think, and you have to work for this to happen, because it wouldn't happen naturally. Many times people get used to the leader in his position, and you have to work all the time in bringing back the power to the people, to the audience, to the platforms outside of yourself. Otherwise, they will just get used to the fact that you're the producer, you're the creator, you're everything.
Great. Any other thoughts, Adi, on leadership versus bottom up?
I think I totally agree with what the guy said. I think it should be a mix of both approaches, and obviously the ability of the community manager to let his members to act and lead and to bring their own ideas will help a lot and make his life much easier, because he will be able immediately to understand what actually the member interested in and what they want him to do and deal. And the community manager, on the other hand, as the the perspective, the objective perspective of all the community, and it can initiate and it can focus and initiate on community projects like open houses, like as Moshiko said, the COVID-19 and how to support with the people that isolated, and to encourage encouraging local consumption, and so on and so forth. And I think it's very important to see how to combination between these both approaches, and it will help all community to be much more engaged and much more vibrant and thriving.
We have also, I want to complete this, we have a term for that. We call it, instead of top down and bottom up, we call it middle out. This helps us to understand this picture.
And middle, do you mean the actual people in the community? Because it's not you, it's the people in your community.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Some great insights, guys. I love it. Let's move to, we spoke about this, vision, goal as a starting point. It might change over time. Really great insights to how you structure these things. What are some of the, your personal secrets that we're going to let people in on in terms of, processes or tools that you put in place to make sure? So we've gone from the higher level to now kind of talking about nuts and bolts to, it might be do's and don'ts, things that you saw that work and things that you saw that really stop the community and it just dissipates. Who wants to attack that question? Adi, you want to start? We'll shift it around, or anybody?
I'll start.
Well, you want to start, Adi? Okay.
No, come on, speak.
Adi,
go ahead.
You start, yeah.
No.
Okay. I can say that I think one of the speakers, someone has said that before, wisdom of the crowd. I think it's one of the most important keys. That you must know and hear and listen to the people to understand what they want, what they doesn't want. For example, if you like, I have like a community center for young kids, and for example, if I build or open like a course for computers, but nobody really want to go there, so nobody will be there. So it's very important that to listen to the crowd and to understand, to the people to understand what they need. I think one of the most important things is to do that the process is not just from, it's that you don't let the people to join in the end of the process, but from the beginning of the process, you let them to know what they need to build with them the goals. And this is very, very important for building a good process until you get it until the end. I can give one very good example. Before I came to the municipality, for 5 years, they tried to build, we call it a parents card. And before I came to for the community there, they didn't succeed to build it. They tried to bring people from the outside. They tried to bring people from university. They tried to bring someone that tried to gather the people for a meeting, but it didn't really work. And I needed, and I see that there is needed in the field to have this parents card, and I didn't have the budget. But there is expression to say when you don't have, take the lemon and make from it a lemonade. And this is what I did. I just took two parents from the community that are like, you can say that in their blood to take part and to do something for the community. And I gave them like a small course to understand how you work with other parents, how you work with kids. And after they moved these courses for 3-4 meetings, they bring other parents, and they took and lead all the group of the parents, and without any money, without any budget, and you just built, after 5 years it didn't succeed, we did it. So you don't need magic, you just need to think out of the box, and it's very, very important.
I love that, the engagement part, to keep them engaged as a thought, and then the example you gave, perfect. Any other kind of tips and examples? That's a perfect answer there, Tzvi.
I think it's the fact to, it's the, like, Matan. Yeah.
So, hi, it's yours.
I think we should, yeah. I think it's the understanding that there is some people that choose low involvement and then they move to high involvement, and some people that choose high involvement and go to low involvement. It's like there is people that want to be a small part in a big project, and this is how they get involved. And there is people that want to be the leaders, and sometimes you need to, in order to extend the local community involvement. So you need to maybe to give the project the bigger project, and they give them the small things to do in it, and then encourage them to do other things. Also, in the beginning, we decided that we are fulfilling dreams. We became a place that people know that if they have the dream or something they want to do in the community, we will help them, we will support them. And in the beginning, we were ready to do everything. Even one person came with an idea, we said, okay, let's do it. And then on the next level, we said that if you have an idea, who is your partners? Other than us, who is your partners in the community? And in this day, people bring their friends, people are more enthusiastic, people want to be part of something bigger. And I think one more thing is that sometimes, even if you have the idea or you know around what you want to do, people want to be part from the beginning. They want to be, like, a lot of people want to be part of the dream. So dreaming together and also doing the process together, and ask people to stay for the whole way, and then also to think about what we can do next. Every time you're doing a project, just put the next step, put the next thing, like help people to dream bigger.
Yeah, I love that next thing because it allows you to make sure that you're leveraging momentum and you're bouncing into other ideas. I love that. Actually, we had a comment from thank you, Eleanor, about empowering local people. So that's really a nice thing.
I totally agree also with Moshiko. I think the ability to people to be part from the very beginning and stay the whole way, as you said, it's something that gives them so much, and they feel the only by that they feel the sense of being part of something that it's much bigger than themselves, and creating help them to feel the meaningful and create the relationship, real relationship with the people around them, relationships that actually matter and actually stay for the long term. And I'm totally agree with the what you said, Moshiko. Go ahead, Matan. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to add exactly to this point. I think the main goal we have in this, like in the communities, the urban communities, we want people to be some kind of city creators instead of city producers. Like we want them to create the city they live in, the scene, the events, the initiative, everything. And many times I felt this at the beginning a lot. I felt some kind of frustration because it felt like I really want them to be like with their initiative and stuff, but it was too big for them or maybe too general for them. And I think one of the best tools we had at the beginning was to create more than just a stage for people to come and do whatever they want, to create a platform that we give the title at the beginning. For example, I will give the free school event. We did a festival, which is an event that everybody who wants is teaching his knowledge to anyone else. And in this way, you also practice the muscle of the people to be involved, but you give them the framework of how easy to be involved. And after this, you can be much more, they will be much more open to think about their own ideas out of the platform you made. But at the beginning, if you come very general and very not exact, it will be many times people will not really understand what are the ideas they want to promote. And I think at the beginning, you have to make a lot of the framing. With the time, it changes.
Thanks, Matan. That's a brilliant tip. To the first thing, what do you do that kind of is a training ground for community engagement? That free school idea became kind of a way that people, for everybody knows something and they want to share something. It just gives them a platform to do it. And then they say, oh, this feels good. And you can expand to other areas. I love this. Other tips, other insights?
I think if I can add one more thing, is that the challenge actually lead to opportunity. And I think this is like, again, during like sometimes people getting united as a community around crisis and around happy things that happening. Like think about like even now, like during COVID-19, people feel the need like to get together, to get closer when there is when they feel lonely, like you're looking for to belong to something, belong to something that the community, a place. I think this is even like now you can see it even more than every other times. And I think as a community leader, if you recognize these opportunities and you recognize this challenge and you created an opportunity for us, this was a great opportunity to get all the neighborhood around the old people in the community online and offline, like how to connect people one to each other, to their neighbors, to the people that they know. And sometimes your relative lives like so far away, but your neighbor live closer. And how you create this from this really big challenge? How do you create actually an opportunity that actually growing the communities? And I think also showing people around this like small success. Like if you have a small success and one more, and then you can see, you look outside and you see the bigger picture. And one more last thing, I think it's like looking inside your community and outside to other places. Because if you all the time looking inside your community, you are not opening your mind to other opportunities out there and see other things that's going on. But if you do it all the time, you're going from your community, see what's going on. And I think this is what we're doing with Superco, with this company, that because we're getting ideas from other places and bringing inside to our community. And you see, oh, this idea works, they're really, really good. Let's bring it here, or let's create a network of people that sharing, even if they don't know each other, sharing ideas, sharing opportunities, sharing stories, sharing. And I think this is something that if you're speaking about the community and the online community, it's something that, again, during COVID-19, we see that it's really important.
I will like to continue, Moshiko, and say two things. First of all, you asked before, what is a good manager of the community? I think it's like you're like a ship. You give the small punch of the wind, and if it continue with the people on the ship, it's meaning you did a good job. And this is to know to find key people from the community, to know that if they enthusiastic, what they want to do some project, to give them the power, and then just continue and see that the ship is continue on. If you need that work, it's meaning you did a good job. And especially, in the Corona time, we have so many examples in our community. First of all, they say like one Jewish is going to do synagogues. You can see it in our community, that we have in our community like 5 youth movement. And before the Corona, each movement was just in herself and didn't do anything with the other communities or with the other groups of in the community. And only because of the Corona, because we needed help and needed to be creative, we found that like a youth movement like at Sofim and youth movement like Bnei Akiva that never worked together, work in the same project that we did, and many like kind of this projects, and especially with the as Moshiko said before, that a deep platform that she made, it made a lot of capacity to see other communities and what they're doing, especially like in Tel Aviv. Moshiko, sometimes I will see what they're doing in Tel Aviv. I know that Tel Aviv look what they're doing in Ganei Tikva, and I think that it's always very important, always to be relevant and always to see what's going outside and inside, and always thinking and always see, okay, what he done and what I want to do like this, and change it to be perfect and to be very good for the community, and this is very important.
I just want to add maybe two very obvious things. I think in order to make a community thrive, the first things that you need is the willingness to actually make it happen, and the understanding that you need to invest resources in order to make it work. And I think the other obvious things, and very important to mention that too, is you need a very, very good and passionate community manager. And I think all of you proved this with what you did in the past, and obviously in the COVID-19, and the third thing is what we said before, is the to combine the bottom-up approach with which will help a lot to the community manager to harness the community and make everyone feel involved and part of this huge thing.
You know, I think it's interesting, because one of the things that, you know, I think about when I look at your jobs and your communities is, what happens to keep that momentum going? You know, is it something that once you reach a certain point, it takes less effort, or is it constantly a struggle to try and keep people engaged? Once they, I don't know, they did that first thing like free school and they taught, they're hooked, or does it diminish and you have to keep raising them?
I can start with that question. I think it's like all answers are correct, because many times the people at the beginning who are the most involved and inside the issues, with the time they get to some other direction and they're not involved anymore, and you have to find like new blood into this community system. This is from one way. From the other way, after a few years that you exist and people know you as a community, and I will say also as a brand, because they know the name of this neighborhood, community, whatever it is, it has a lot of sustainability just from the fact that it's already exists a few years. And now we saw it a lot in the COVID-19. Many people who weren't connected at all to the Reshet before were talking to us because they know us as a young adult organization in Beersheva and a community. And they found us as an address because they understand we are a few years in this field of activism and doing stuff in the neighborhoods in Beersheva. So now when they need it more in the COVID-19, they find us more as relevant because we're, I don't know, like players in the game for a long time. So I think it's very, very combined. Like it's a lot of work all the time. It never ends. But you have some kind of monitoring that you get with time that helps you to maintain the base in a more firm way.
Great. Anybody else on that topic?
Well, I can just add that it's important, like, hear me? Yeah, can just add that it's important like a flower. You always need to give it water, you always need to give it sun. Same with people, you always need to see what's going with them, to see that if they need something, to be in the background, but always to be there for them. And especially today, many projects are not for, doesn't going for long of 1 year or 2 years, but many projects are just for even for 1 week or for 1 day or for 1 month. And it's very important always to adapt and always to know to do what you need to, how to help each one that do some project to help him inside it.
Great. Just a couple of comments from Eleanor.
It's like driving a car.
Adaptation is key, which is actually, I think, exactly what Steve just mentioned. And Can you not hear us? No?
Now we can hear you.
Can you hear us now? Okay. Sorry. So, we had Eleanor just mention wisdom of the masses, wisdom of the crowds, like using the community come up with new ideas and keep it young and flowing. And of course, adaptation, which you, Tzvi, just mentioned.
I think also the way to make it something like ongoing for the long run, it's also, as a community manager, you should or the community at all should be based on something that it's very simple to use. And I think it's a big challenge today, because if it won't be easy for people to interact and to contribute and initiate something, they won't do it, because all the many obstacles that along the way in this particular topic, and you have to work with, to be based on something that they used to work with, and they're very easy to interact with other, and to get the support from the community manager, which can always be the one that give, as Tzvi said, the water to the plant and make it work and thrive.
Yeah, thanks, Adi. It's amazing. You know, I thought we'll come up with 4 or 5 things that I could summarize and say these are the key 4 things. I think I've got a list of 40 things that we can maybe create and publish, co-author the book of Thriving Communities. It's been great. I want to give Eleanor a chance. If you want to raise your hand and join the stage, I think that's part of the features of the platform, where we can bring someone from the audience. Eleanor, if you want to raise your hand, I think I can do that somehow. Not sure. I don't know how that works, but Ari, maybe you can help us. If not, I do want to take a couple of minutes to. There's Ari. Can we see if Eleanor wants to say a few words?
Actually, Eleanor knows how to raise her hand, because she's been on stage before, but perhaps she doesn't want to.
Chose not to.
Why don't you guys? Oh, she's on a phone call. Okay, cool. Why don't you guys just continue?
Okay, great. So let's just wrap up. I have to give a little shout out to thank all of you guys, and maybe a commercial piece. All of you guys are using a platform called Coing, and we work together with you guys. And I think one of the key things I think every community needs is some kind of platform that allows both the offline and online engagement to manage the events, to manage these kind of, we spoke about these quick starters, to manage all the members that join and all the events that take place. So thanks for being on the panel. Thanks for being great users of Coing. And it was a pleasure to do the session. Ari, and thanks for this conference, which, you know, I didn't hear of any conferences that focus on communities, but every session I went to was terrific.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the feedback, and it is an amazing conference that ISCL has put together. And thanks everyone for joining. This panel is both wonderful and challenging at the same time, because I think it's the largest panel that we've had on the platform until now. And I see a little bit of a dropping out here and there, but the platform is holding up very nicely. So I invite you and the others who are watching, if you want to grab a table in the lounge, you can send direct messages, you can get together. You guys can just hang out at a table in the lounge if you want to. That's exactly what the platform is for. You click on the lounge button on the left. And thanks very much for joining. The next sessions up are community super tools and building managed marketplaces for communities. That's up at 5 o'clock Israel time. So thank you all.
Thanks, Ari. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Meet you in the lounge.
Bye-bye.